Greetings and salutations, everybody. This is Warpath Extreme here, and I am back with another video. Man, I don't know how many times I have to make gaps between videos, man. I keep taking a hiatus every time after one video, but I'm back. Well, anyway, here comes my next Warpath rant. This is my 7th one. Oh, by the way, yes, it is in fact the night after Thanksgiving. And I hope y'all enjoyed that big fat turkey, the peanut butter pie, the traditional pumpkin pie, the banana cream pie, the apple pie, whatever pie you have, and the dressing, the cranberries, and yeah, the candy yams, etc., the mashed potatoes or the rice, whichever. Now it's time for you to sit back and relax and enjoy this Warpath rant. This time I'm covering the Retrobit plug-and-play wars. Of course, I'm talking about the Retrobit generations versus the Super Retro Cade. Let's start off with the Retrobit generations. Now this one, I'm sure many people will not like hearing, because the Retrobit generations, according to YouTuber Parallax Abstraction, is a steaming pile of hot buttered caca that nobody should buy under any circumstances for many reasons. One, there are certain games that play like crap. Super Nintendo games like Super R-Type, it ran way too fast. And somebody forgot to put the speed into normal mode before it was... Oh, man. The arcade games universally play like crap. Yeah, games like Knights of the Round and Ghouls and Ghosts. Well, there are some arcade games in here, but every one of them were Capcom ones. And the majority of them are home ports. Yeah, so NES, SNES, and Genesis. Anyway, some of the NES games had working audio, some of them don't. One of the games that work but does not have proper working audio is Bionic Commando. Yeah, pretty freaking terrible, right? Yeah. No matter what TV, HD TV, or CRT TV you use, it's the same freaking thing. The emulation is broken. That is so unacceptable on its own. Another reason why the Retrobit generations is a steaming pile of hot butter caca, you can't shine caca, is the fact that there's only one Data East game in that plug and play. The logo's on the darn box. I'm glad I don't have the Retrobit generations. Anyway, there's only one game from that company, which is Ring King. No Burger Time, no Bad Dudes, no Fighter's History, nothing. No Magical Drop. No, I think Magical Drop's from another company. I think Technos, I think. I don't care. Anyway, no Burger Time, no Fighter's History, no Bad Dudes. Nothing. Man, what were they thinking? Instead, you get games from a company called Pico Interactive, which are a company that was known for releasing Japanese versions of games onto retro cartridges and then sell them, like Super Nintendo, Nintendo, something like that. Games like Apocalypse 2 and Super Noah's Ark 3D. It was an unlicensed Bible game. It was the only Super Nintendo game that was unlicensed not to be licensed by Nintendo. Most of the games that they put out were crap, from what I heard. So yeah, they had to keep... Speaking of Data East, of course, there were 3 other companies that signed off on this thing for the generations. That is, of course, Capcom, Irem, and Jalico. Of course, Data East went bankrupt. Their properties are currently owned by a mobile company called Gmode. Jalico retired from the video game industry to focus on their current objective, real estate. And Irome, they also retired from the video game industry, but they do exist, by the way. They're currently owned by a monitor maker called ISO. Capcom, as far as the Retrobit Generations is concerned, Capcom is the only company that's still around. But so is Konami. Only Konami right nowadays is having a very bad reputation. They could end up getting bankrupt in 2020. Who knows? It might happen. Capcom may go out of business. Atari is about to go out of business somehow. But I think technically they still exist, I think they're about to go out of business, I do believe, but I'm not real sure if they really are. I do know that Konami's been having a bad reputation, so yeah. Speaking of Konami, that's another story. Anyway, yeah, the Retrobit Generations. Another reason why the Retrobit Generations is a steaming pile of caca is that the arcade shmup Varth, Operation Thunderstorm, Varth for short, played sideways. Why does Varth have to play sideways? It shouldn't do that. I mean, you can there's an option. There is options, but all you get as far as the screen is concerned, all you get, you full size, you original, you scale. There is no rotation option, so you're screwed. This game is stuck sideways. Go to you know what. There was zero care taken into its production, and yeah, it's very inconsistent. That's the thing, you know. It sucks. It sucks. You know what? It's bad. It's terrible. Screw the Retrobit Generations for life. However, Retrobit did fix the problem the following year. They released it. They used the same exact type of body that as used in the Retrobit Generations. Only difference is the way they colored it. That is, of course, white. And they called it the Super Retro Cade. They didn't call it the Retrobit Generations 2. Oh no. They called it the Super Retro Cade. And well worthy of that title. It has over 90 games on it when the Retrobit Generations had 100. And another the Super Retro Cade did have needed some improvements. It may still have some flaws, but way far from having as much as the Retrobit Generations have. So yeah, Retrobit Generations sucks, you know what. But the Super Retro Cade rocks the world. Oh yeah, somebody go get the box. In fact, I have the Super Retro Cade hooked up to my TV. I can't show you the system because it's hooked up to the TV, but I can show you the box. I'll be right back. There it is, folks. The Super Retro Cade. The one I have, this is the version 1.1, by the way. Which means that if you have version 1.1, you will get games like R-Type 1 and 2. When in the original 0.1, you don't. You still get Super R-Type. Oh, speaking of Super R-Type, let me show you the list of games. Right. Oh, before I do that, let me show you inside there. Pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Pretty cool, huh? Also, the Super Retro Cade has Mega Man 2 and 3. Now, here's the list of games right there. There we go. You'll get Yeah, there are also some console games in here, but the majority of them, but most of them are arcade ports, because the word "cade" is in the title, Super Retro Cade, so you'll know most of them are arcade ports. You do get both versions of Mercs, the arcade version as well as the Genesis version. Speaking of the Genesis version of Mercs, yes, it is the only Genesis game in the package, but it was also on the Retrobit Generations, and it also played like crap. That's another reason why the Retrobit Generations is a steaming pile of hot buttered caca. Mercs played ugly. It played like caca. But Mercs played normal. Super R-Type also played normal. It did not play way too fast. It played the normal speed the way it should. As you can see, it's version 1.1. Of course, it was made by the likes of Capcom, Data East, of course, from the likes of Capcom, Data East, Irem, and Technos. Of course, we all know Data East went bankrupt in 2003. Irem is currently owned by ISO. I can't remember who owned Technos. If you know who owns all the properties of Technos, let me know in the comments below. Who owns Technos? Who owns all the properties of Technos? Of course, Technos went bankrupt way before Data East was bankrupt. Technos ceased operations due to bankruptcy in 1995. And of course, Varth did not, and the best part is that on the Super Retro Cade, the arcade game of Varth did not play sideways. It went to its normal screen. Sure, there may not be a rotation option, but at least none of the arcade shmups played sideways. It played normal the way it should, although it does have some choppy emulation, slight choppy emulation in Mystic Rider, but still playable. Okay, it's not as bad as the Super Retro Cade. It is pretty darn good. The emulation is good on most games. Mystic Rider may have some slight emulation glitches, but still played okay. It's not perfect, but it still played okay. You also get Magical Drop, and of course there is no Ring King in there, but you do get Burger Time, and you do get Fighter's History, and yeah, there you have it. Bad Dudes. Yeah. Super Retro Cade, yeah. Matter of fact, Jalico, as for the Retrobit Generations, Jalico put out there were lots of games by Jalico, including the Rushing Beat trilogy. 2 out of the 3 were American versions of them. The other was a Super Famicom port. You get the 2 North American Super Nintendo ports, North American and European, Rival Turf and Brawl Brothers, but you get the Japanese version of the Peacekeepers, Rushing Beat Shira, whatever. Yes, they do play fine. There are Super Nintendo games in here and NES games that actually play fine, and others like Bionic Commando and Super Art type play like crap. The arcade games universally play like crap. Every one of the Game Boy games do play fine. I'll give you that. But the Retrobit Generations sucks dick. Pardon my language, my lord. Pardon my language. And even Mercs, some of the Genesis games work fine, and some don't. Like games like Mercs. So yeah, do not buy the Retrobit Generations under any circumstances. It is garbage. It is caca, it is horse manure. Stay away from it. And get the Super Retro Cade. Yes, Super Retro Cade has better emulation. Retrobit Generations has garbage emulation. So yeah. Retrobit Generations, avoid. And Super Retro Cade, as for that, get it. You've got to have it. Seriously. Oh, one more thing. I forgot to tell you, the controllers. Yeah, the controllers in the Retrobit Generations has the same looks about the same shape as a 6-button Sega Genesis controller, only it's smaller and feels very, very cheap, but they do work. You also get AV cables and no HDMI. But as for the Super Retro Cade, you do get the Super Nintendo style controller with some curves, and an HDMI cable and no AV. So yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, I was fortunate to have an spare AV cable so I can play them. But the Retrobit Generations, it's garbage. Don't buy it. But if you want a plug-and-play system that has tons of preloaded games, and if you want one that has good and better emulation, get the Super Retro Cade. Rather if it's the version 0.1 or 1.1, get it now. It's a little expensive, but not as expensive as whatever. At least it's not as expensive as, take for example the NES and SNES classics. They're impossible to find cheap, I'll tell you that much. I don't even have an HD TV, but I don't care for one right now. I'll probably get one soon, but I don't want to spend too much money. Anyway, that's my rant on the Super Retro Cade versus the Retrobit Generations. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, and also don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Also follow me on Dailymotion as well. Don't forget to like or dislike the video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment down below. And beware of COPPA. They're on our cases now. But I hope they fail miserably. COPPA is just garbage too. Maybe I ought to do a rant on COPPA. I don't know. I may or may not, but anyway, see you later, and keep the war going.